Welcome to the Patriots Lab, where we ain't even trying to make them liberals mad. Cause freedom of speech is what us individuals have. It's the gift when we gab, talking about things that the brainwash cannot mentally grasp, like staying loud and waving our American flags. This is for the free thinkers, wearing their MAGA and wearing the cags. Draining the swamp is the ultimate goal, but the sheeple will swear it's a fad, like it's just a phrase. But when we show them the facts, the fools got nothing to say, and deep government state wanna get up in our face, but hasn't done it yet cause Trump's in the way, trying to protect us from a troublesome fate. And because of that, we'll never lose our faith, plus God keeping us cool and safe. But I still hope we get 4 more years so we could throw a huge parade. I can see it now, Patriots on a float, and POTUS will go down in history as one of the GOATs for making the swamp pay for taking every one of his votes. His enemies are the cancer, whether or not Trump give him the smoke. Now relax it back and take notes as we kick facts with the homie Ray though. Speak your mind in the Patriots Lab. It's freedom time in the Patriots Lab, where we ain't even trying to, we make them liberals mad. I said speak your mind in the Patriots Lab. It's freedom time in the Patriots Lab, where we not even trying to, we make them liberals mad. I said, speak your mind in the Patriots Lab. It's freedom time in the Patriots Lab, where we not even trying to, we make them liberals mad. Speak your mind. It's freedom time. Without even trying to, we make them liberals mad.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Good afternoon. No, it's still morning time, people, patriots, whoever you consider yourself to be. Welcome to Morning Coffee with your man. I hope everybody's doing well. I know I am. Good morning, Daryl McClain, little bro. What's good? I'm just getting my link sent out this morning. We're going to get into the nitty gritty. Oh, yes, we are. The stage has been set. For those of you who are on the Democratic side, obviously your champion has been chosen for you. And y'all already know who that is. And for the Republicans, in what I would call a landslide victory, it was Donald J. Trump coming out on top, like we always knew the actual and factual would be. But there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And let me just get this so I can make sure I'm right. But while I'm doing this, make sure y'all like, share, subscribe, ring that bell so you can get them instant notifications. So when it goes down, you can be around. Also, go ahead and grab yourself a nice cup of coffee. I am almost ready. We're getting ready to take this off here. Bear with me. I got to make sure all my platforms are up and going this morning. Go ahead and grab yourself a nice. Okay, I got that one going on here. When you got a couple of different things going on. All right, we ready. I sent out some links. I might have some special guests popping up this morning, but y'all already know. So before we go any further, I'm gonna go ahead and get into it. We're gonna do the first one, and then we're gonna work our way down. But like I said, the stage has been set. Let's see what we got here. Let's start off this way.
A couple of news items, if you don't mind. Viktor Orban said that you told him that you want to cut funding for Ukraine as soon as you get there. Where's that effect? He said that in an interview.
Yeah.
Is he correct? Is that the plan?
First of all, he's a fantastic guy, and he's taken in no illegal immigrants. He takes in at what's happening in our country, where there's crime on every street corner and murder, death all over the place. And it's going to get a lot worse because of the migrants coming in. You know, millions and millions of people coming out of prisons and coming out of mental institutions, and they're all coming in to the United States. We had a great time. We had dinner. We get along very well. But what I told him is Europe is spending a tiny fraction of what we're spending. And the European nations, as a combination, they should be paying the same, because, you know, their economy is approximately the same size. If you add them all up, their economy is very close to our economy. Plus, they're in a lot more danger than we are. We have a thing called an ocean between us, right? And I would not protect you if you're not spending, if you're not paid up. But Europe is about $100 billion less in spending in giving money to Ukraine. And I said, that's something that really has to be taken care of. It's not fair to us.
So he was okay in saying what he said.
Well, it was okay. I mean, he gave a very short statement, a sort of statement. I told him, I think it's very unfair to America. It's very unfair to the United States taxpayer.
That's right.
When we're spending all of the money or a majority of the money, Europe should be spending. I call it, you have to equalize. Equalize. They have to equalize what we spent, and they should do that. And they will do that, just like they did with NATO. They will do that if somebody is in there to tell them. But do you think Biden's calling them saying you have to equalize? I don't think he's ever said that.
One more thing from today's news, TikTok, the Republicans just voted to, Republicans and Democrats just voted to ban it. You don't think they should ban it right now?
Well, I didn't say anything other than you have to look at Facebook is the enemy of the people. They did those lockboxes. They spent $500 million. You know, if you spent more than 5,000.
The thing I like about Trump, when he's going to do something, he lets you know the reason behind why he's doing what he's doing. This way you can understand. Just like he was just talking about the money situation. Why should we be footing the majority of the Ukraine war when the European nations are the ones that are really being affected, and they're under budget by $180 billion? What do you think is covering that? So yeah, I am all for him cutting all type of funds to Ukraine. Let them fight their own damn war.
Dollars or whatever the number is. If you spend $100 more, they put you in prison for campaign violations, right? Zuckerberg or Zuckerbucks, whatever you want to call him, is spending, the number is crazy. He's spending $500 million in the last election, and nothing happens to him. And that money's being passed all over the place, especially on the lockboxes, or so-called lockboxes, because they're not lockboxes. I call them open boxes. And I think that something has to be done with Facebook. And one thing I will say, I don't want Facebook to get bigger because I think Facebook is an equal threat. And that includes with China, because if China wants to know anything about what Facebook knows, they're going to give them the information.
Mr. President, I'm very curious about what it's like for you, your life. You know, no one's gone through what you've gone through. Nobody in human history has really, and I know you have supporters, friends, family. They say it's lonely at the top. And I'm actually curious, is it ever lonely for you? I mean, no one can fully relate to what you've been through and what you're going through. Are you ever lonely?
So I was, over the years, I love history. I study history. And I was always told that Andrew Jackson, as a president, was treated the absolute worst. He was just really lambasted. And I heard Abraham Lincoln was second, but he was the Civil War, so you can understand that. But Andrew Jackson was really, really treated badly. In fact, his wife died the way they were treated. I mean, she was heartbroken and broken in so many other ways. And I heard that for years. And I look now, even last night I was saying it, I said, I don't care, Andrew Jackson or anybody else, nobody has, when you think of the fake things, nobody's been treated like Trump in terms of badly. Russia, Ukraine, and it literally starts the new one. As you win one, you start the other. Impeachment hoax number one, impeachment hoax number two, all hoaxes and scams. And I said, if they ever devoted their time to making America in the morning, it's a war. We're fighting some very bad people, some very evil people. And it's a war. And it's a war that we're winning. You know, when I looked at the numbers last night, we had tremendous numbers. You had tremendous. tremendous. Other candidates are on, as you know, other candidates are left, even if they're no longer on, if they quit, if they gave up, or whatever form of leaving they wanted to take. Those numbers were incredible numbers, and the numbers of people that voted were incredible numbers. There's never been spirit, in my opinion, for an election of an American president like there is right now. And I think you add on the fact that they love my policies, that they like me, they have to like me, they're not going to vote otherwise. But they see how bad, how pathetic Biden's been. He's the worst president in the history of our country. He's corrupt, he's incompetent. He's weaponized the justice system to go after his political opponent, which has never been done before. And he's the worst president we've ever had. He's not respected at all in foreign. Look, you wouldn't have Russia attacking Ukraine. You wouldn't have Israel being attacked. Iran was broke when I was president. They were broke because of me. Let's say they were broke. And they didn't have the money to give to Hamas or Hezbollah. All of these things, you wouldn't have inflation because it was caused by energy. All of these things were things that were very preventable, not preventable by him. And the problem we have 7 months to go, a little more than 7 months to go. That's an eternity when you have incompetent people running the government.
The cases against you in different ways are disintegrating. You see what's going on with Fannie, and Jack Smith keeps on losing on these emotions. Yeah. These cases were designed to destroy you.
Yes.
And they've helped you. And some of us actually, we see, I know my audience and me too, we see that you're protected, maybe even by the hand of God. Has that ever crossed your mind? I mean, the idea that these indictments could have been a benefit to you politically, it's almost, it was inconceivable a year ago. Now look at where you are.
Well, I've watched people over the years, politicians get indicted, and the first thing they do is go to the microphone and say, I'll be leaving office now, and I will fight for my name and my reputation, and I'll be going back home to my family. You know, they leave for a lot of different reasons, but nobody's ever been hit like me. And it has never been anything like this. Look, my numbers are highest. Nobody's ever seen numbers like this. I believe that if this didn't happen, perhaps they miscalculated, and perhaps they haven't, because don't forget, it's not over yet. But there is some kind of a protective force, because you look at what I've been hit with. These are horrible people. These are corrupt. You know, Jack Smith, I call him deranged Jack Smith. This guy is out to murder. Here's Joe Biden with 50 times the number of documents, classified stuff. He took it all for a 50-year period. And don't forget, they can blame his mental health. And I agree with them on his mental health. His mental health is terrible. But they can blame his mental health. But 20 years ago, and 10 years ago, and 30 years ago, and 40 and 50 years ago, he didn't have, let's say, a mental health problem like they talk about today.
That's right.
So they release him from liability. And you're talking about many, many times the documents over many years. And he didn't have the Presidential Records Act. He didn't have it, you know, which totally protects me, in my opinion, totally protects me. You know, I was dealing with them. We were dealing fine. We weren't. And then all of a sudden, they raided this house. They raided Mar-a-Lago. But Biden did. He wasn't protected by the presidential right because he wasn't president. He took him when he was a senator. Dick Durbin got up and said, if he did that, that's a real bad thing. That's as bad as it gets. Dick Durbin's on their side. And I just remember when he heard about that, he took a lot of classified documents and documents as a senator. Dick Durbin couldn't believe it. So when you look at it, there's something going on, because they're going after me viciously. Then all of a sudden it comes out that Biden took 10 times the number of documents that I did. And I took them very legally, and I wasn't hiding them. We had boxes on the front of and a lot of those boxes had clothing, and we're moving out, okay? Unfortunately, we're moving out of the White House. And because we're moving out of the White House, our country's going to hell. But we weren't hiding anything. He was. And then you see him with his Corvette. Nobody ever mentions the one, though, that's the worst, is he had him in Chinatown. And those were boxes that were used. If you take a look at those boxes there was a lot of activity in those boxes. They show pictures of them. These were boxes that were used. In Mar-a-Lago, we had the Secret Service. We had all sorts of security. We had everything. And what he did was far more egregious. I mean, what I did, I had protection. I had the right to do it, in my opinion, and in my lawyer's opinion, and everything else. But when you see that the way they released him, and they say, we're going to release him, it was egregious what he did. But by the way, they released Hillary Clinton. She hammered her phones. She used all sorts of acid testing and everything else. They call it bleach bit, but it's essentially acid that will destroy everything you know, within 10 miles. I mean, what she did was unbelievable. Nothing happens to her. Nothing happens to Bill Clinton. He took it out in his socks. You know, it was the famous
Anthony
socks case,
Courtney,
which he
good
actually ended up
afternoon.
winning.
Good morning.
So when I look at this, Greg, I say, there's got to be something. You know, it was very interesting when they were going after me viciously, raiding my house, everything else, because Jack Smith is an animal. He's a total animal. He's deranged. He really is. He's a deranged person. The other gentleman who went after her, went after Biden, it was a weird kind of a conclusion because he said, you know, he's competent to be president, but he's not competent to stand trial.
Get up out of here. Okay. There we go. I'm having all kind of technical issues right now. They didn't want me, they really didn't want me to play that. But you know what? Tough on them. And they took all of my other videos down. Wow. This is technology. So I'm just sitting here, right? And I got my videos lined up. Let me see if they even let me keep it into my preset screens. No, they took it all away. So they didn't want me to play no more clips of what I was about to show. But I really don't care because we already know. We already know. So, oh man, they just messed up my whole show. You see how they did that shit? But life goes on. But if y'all had an opportunity or didn't have an opportunity to see what took place during, let me see if I can bring it up. We got morning coffee. It's live. You're in the studio, and this would be a good opportunity for you because now I'll just bring everything up as I go, and we'll see how that goes. So y'all like, share, subscribe while I put my videos up. And the first one, let me see here. We're gonna go, and now y'all, I gotta do it play by play. So the first one here, let me see. I'm gonna play it, and then I'll go ahead and critique it. But this will give you guys time to comment on what's going on. So let me see. Y'all get to watch me work on my computer skills. Maybe this happens for a reason. But we'll go ahead and do this first one. Jim Jordan, and this is director her, and just listen to it, and I'll be pulling up the other ones.
South Carolina is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I'll yield to you such time as you may consume, sir.
Oh, I appreciate the gentleman yielding. Mr. Hur, why did the White House lawyers go look in the first place? My understanding is they went to the Penn Biden Center. Why'd they go look in the first place? Look for classified, mishandling classified, look for classified documents. Why'd they do it?
What we identified through our investigation was that at a certain date, members of the president's staff went to the Penn Biden Center in order to get a better handle on what the information, what kinds of evidence and what kinds of materials were at the Penn Biden Center.
Were they specifically looking for potential documents that were classified, or was it a broader initial look?
My understanding is that it was a broader initial look, and I'm looking at chapter 14, page 257 of my report about a visit in March 2021 to the Penn Biden Center.
Okay. In March?
In March of 2021.
Was this after the Justice Department began their investigation into President Trump?
I confess I don't have the date of the beginning of the investigation into President Trump at hand, Chairman.
I believe it was the same month. I believe it was after. So I was just curious of that. Now, one other thing I think is important for folks to understand is President Biden had this information everywhere. You said they initially went to the Penn Biden Center. Which location was it at? Do you remember when they initially did their look? Was it at the transition office? Was it at the temporary Penn Biden Center in Chinatown? Or was that at its current location where the Penn Biden Center currently sits here in, final location, I guess, in D.C.? You remember?
I believe the visit that I referenced in March 2021 that's described on page 257 was to the Penn Biden Center's permanent and current location.
Permanent and current. So there were three places, those three places classified information was at. Is that fair to say?
That's correct. The initial transition office immediately after the end of the vice presidency, the Penn Biden Center's temporary office, and then the Penn Biden Center's permanent office.
Okay. So those, and then you had the University of Delaware Library, the University of Delaware Biden Center, right? So that's 5 total. And then you had multiple places in his home.
Correct.
The garage, the den, the office upstairs, and the office downstairs.
Correct.
So what is that? That's like 9 different places.
I've lost count, sir, but
Yeah,
that
exactly.
sounds right.
It's everywhere. And it was documents over a 50-year time frame. And then by comparison, because the Democrats want to keep comparing to President Trump's classified document right at his home with Secret Service protection. I don't know that they're anywhere else, were they?
I'm not aware of other locations, President.
Yeah. I think that's an important distinction. I would yield back to the gentleman for South Carolina. Appreciate him yielding.
So basically, that was the whole thing that they went through. Here's another one I'm going to show you. And basically, I'm doing this for my records, but y'all just get to go along. And this is Jeff Van Drew giving his grilling. And it's just common sense. Then we're going to show you what the other side tried to do.
Thank you for being here. You know, I think for the folks that may be watching this at home, they might be a little bit confused, and I'm trying to organize this in my mind as well. The way the president is portrayed in your report and just how we feel about him. Was he a well-meaning, forgetful man, as you said, or was he a man that was focused on history? Was he a man that maintained and retained these top secret documents that should have been not in his home? And was he a man that wanted to prove he was worthy to be president and that his vision of Afghanistan was better than even President Barack Obama's, and that his focus on history was most important to him? Do you know which it is?
Congressman, to the extent you're quoting language from my report, I stand by the words in my report.
So you stand by that he was, let me quote you exactly, quote, a well-meaning but forgetful old man.
I don't think those exact words appear in the report, Congressman, but to the extent that I use words similar to that effect in my assessment of how a jury would perceive Mr. Biden and the evidence relating to him, including his testimony, I do stand by that assessment.
So is it accurate to say that in your interview, President Biden retained and disclosed classified materials as a means to bolster his image as a presidential figure? And I'm going to ask you for yes or no's here because our time is so limited.
I believe words to that effect are in my report, Congressman.
So the answer is yes. Would you agree that President Biden's intent to showcase his legacy provides a motive for his actions concerning classified materials? Yes or no?
It is one of the motives addressed in the report.
Yep, to showcase his legacy. Is it accurate to quote your report that classified documents were found in, quote, badly damaged boxes in his garage near a collapsed dog crate, a dog bed, a Zappos box, and an empty bucket? Is that correct?
Those words do appear in the report.
So that's correct. The answer is yes. Are these secure locations to store classified documents?
They are not.
Okay, so we got a former vice president who is established to have willfully, purposefully retained classified documents in order to highlight his political stature and show his stature as a presidential figure. We have a former vice president who stored classified documents in very unsecured places. We have a former vice president who will not suffer any consequences for all of these actions, all because we say, well, he's a well-meaning, forgetful old man. You know, if you were kind of a well-meaning, forgetful old man that was driving a car and you forgot what you were doing a little bit and you hit somebody and killed them, I believe you'd be responsible. The law must apply, you know this, to everyone. The standard behind the decision not to prosecute Joe Biden, especially in light of Special Counsel Jack Smith's decision to prosecute President Trump for similar conduct, gives the real appearance of two standards. Just again, so much part of this Department of Justice. Justice for thee, but not for me. Special Counsel Hur, has any former president or vice president besides President Trump ever been criminally charged for knowingly retaining classified information after they left office? Yes or no?
No.
Would you concur that Special Counsel Smith's decision to charge a former president for retaining and disclosing classified information was an extraordinary, unusual, and unprecedented decision?
I will not comment on that matter.
Well, I'm going to comment. The answer is yes. Special Counsel Hurd, these two reports are the culmination, in my mind, of the Department of Justice's two standards, and an example, again, of the Justice Department being weaponized against conservatives. You know, there's another piece to this, too. While I have just a few seconds. We know that when his ghostwriter was speaking to him, he also did recordings. And when he did those recordings, it was clear. In fact, I'll try to quote this here. It was a month in 2017, a month after Biden left as VP. He was aware of top secret classified materials that were, quote, downstairs. Is that true?
That is reflected in an audio recording, yes.
It's reflected in an audio record, you know. So sometimes he may be sleepy, sometimes he may be forgetful, sometimes he may be cognitively impaired. There's no doubt about that. But man, when it came to his personal legacy, the way he wanted to be remembered, to be sure that he was a big deal, in plain English, in the future, he was willingly and knowingly breaking the law. And it's unfortunate that we have a Department of Justice that will treat one person one way and somebody else a different way. It's a sad day for America. Thank you, Mr. Hurd. I yield back.
A gentleman yields back the.
If y'all are dead.
Okay. Well, I mean, what else is there to say except welcome Dave Globin into the Patriots Lab for morning coffee this morning. He has his mic muted. But yeah, we're going to welcome Dave Globin. He's just waking up. I woke him up this morning.
No, that's okay. I apologize. I had a phone call I had to take, and then as soon as that one hung up, I had another one that I had to take, but I'm here and now. My view on this whole thing, Ray, is that they're playing double standards against each other, where Biden is trying to claim Trump did all of this. Trump is claiming that Biden, like the rest of America, couldn't do what he did. It was illegal, and there is punishment involved with it, and shouldn't be president. Shouldn't be president, period, like the man just said. And no one seems to want to be the one who says impeach him, both on the Republican side and on the Democrat side. And other than that, I'm going to shut up and return it back to you.
But I mean, I guess the truth has always been known, but it's good that it's finally really getting out there, so the American people can really see the double standards that exist when it comes to just this particular situation right here. As if this man, Donald Trump, didn't need any more ammunition for his cause. Well, let's face it, he's already got 75, almost 80% of the country that's going to vote for him. You know, I've been listening to people and pundits speak for the past couple of days. And man, if they try, if this thing don't turn out the way the American people want it to turn out, my goodness. I told my wife I'm staying in the house. I am staying in the house. But, you know, there's always two sides of the coin. There's always two sides of the coin. And before we get into the other side of the coin, let me go ahead and just show you this clip of the Democratic strategy, should I say. Let me see. I think wait, could this be the one? No, that ain't the one. I think this is the one right here. This is the Democratic playbook, but we already knew what it was going to be.
It says in the first sentence of your executive summary that your investigation concluded with an assessment that, quote, no criminal charges are warranted in this matter.
Correct.
So this lengthy, expensive, and independent investigation resulted in a complete exoneration of President Joe Biden. For every document you discussed in your report, you found insufficient evidence that the president violated any laws about possession or retention of classified materials. The primary law that you analyzed for potential prosecution was part of the Espionage Act, 18 U.S.C. 793E, which criminalizes willful retention or disclosure of national defense information. Is that correct?
Congresswoman, that is one statute that we analyzed. I need to go back and make sure that I take note of the word that you used, exoneration. That is not a word that
I'm going to continue with my questions. I'm going to continue with my questions. I know that the term
I ultimately reached
I know that
whether
the term
sufficient evidence existed such that the likely outcome
you
would be
exonerated
a
him.
conviction.
I know
I
that
did
the
not
term
exonerate him.
willful
That word does not appear in the
retention has a
report, Congresswoman.
Mr. Hur, it's my time. Thank you.
So, and there's plenty more of that. So they try to interject a word, exoneration, and you clearly, as you will see in other clips, you clearly hear Mr. Hurd trying to tell them, pump the brakes. Where are you getting this exoneration shit from? But if you listen to the Democrats, and they're going to do their little sound bites and little editing to where it says he was exonerated, and then they're going to put something that he says behind it. But if you listen to it in its entirety, they're basically badgering the witness. That's what you call badgering the witness. Asking him a question and not letting him answer it before you go on to the next question. And then belittling him, telling him he don't mean what he said when he's trying to tell you, I meant. Man, this is crazy. What do you think, Dave?
I think Mr. Hur meant exactly what he said. I think he delivered the report that maybe the Democrats were afraid he was going to deliver, that said he's guilty of sin, he's an old man, he's not in his right mind, he shouldn't be president. But like I said, I think he did exactly what he was supposed to do, short of pronouncing sentence, which is not his job. I guess it's somebody else's job or a judge's job to decide. And I guess we have to wait and see what the judge.
There is no judge. He took that. See, that's where I hate her, because what he did, like, share, subscribe, ring the bell so you can get the instant notifications. I got Dave Glavin, host of Boogie with the Bull in the Patriots Lab today. What her did was he took it out of the hands of the judge and jury, which he's not allowed to do. He's assuming that because Joe Biden would present himself to the jury as such a fragile person that can't remember shit, that the jury would feel sorry for them, feel sorry for him, and wouldn't lock him up. Well, you know what? That's for the jury to decide. So Hur's got himself in a pickle, but I understand, because as we'll get into later in the broadcast, when you go against the grain, you just might, in the case we're going to talk about later, it's not coming up missing, but you just might come up missing. And see, Hur wasn't putting himself in that situation. See, for those that want to go a couple of years back, what Hur did, he pulled the James Comey. That's what Hur did. Hur pulled the James Comey out of the James Comey playbook. These are two men that still want to live. And see, for some odd reason, they'll let you live if you don't divulge or push the envelope too far. So he basically said, I'm going to go halfway. I'm going to give y'all all this shit, and then I'm out. I'm going to give y'all. Yeah, he did that shit willfully, knowingly. Yep, I'm going to give you all the shit, so the next one that comes along, do what you want to do. but I ain't touching it. I got a family to look after. I mean, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. We're going to get into the whistleblower for Boeing in a minute. How he came up? Suicide? Really? Like, share, subscribe. That's later in the broadcast.
But doesn't then the House take her report and use that as the grounds to impeach a person who shouldn't be president? Hope they send it over to the Senate and they look at it and they go on the rule of law and this and that and the other thing. He's guilty as sin, and they boot him out. I know the Democrats aren't going to want to do that because they want Joe Biden at the least to finish this term and not break in.
Yeah, that's not. You're right. You're right on the latter part. That's not happening. So
they don't want to give. Yeah, they don't want to give Kamala any chance, any taste of what it's like to be president, because in their playbook for the 2024 election, her name doesn't come up.
No, not at all. But I mean, we just gotta, I guess, this is just more information for the American people. That's basically what this is, because the fight between whether he's going to get locked up, if that was the case, that shit would have happened a long time ago. No, that's not happening to Papa Joe. You see, they let him shuffle around just like he is. It's like they just let him shuffle around, have a good old time. They just let, but to put cease to it because they all just want to say he's exonerated and whatever reason. I'm gonna let her explain the actual and factual in his own words. And that it's just some people with some common sense. Just go ahead, Herb. Just break
I would
it down.
presume that you would never prosecute someone you thought was outright innocent.
Correct.
In this case, did you reach a conclusion that this man was outright innocent?
That conclusion is not reflected in my report, sir.
Right. So you did not reach that conclusion, or it would have been in your report.
Correct.
I viewed my task of explaining my decision to the Attorney General as being based on my judgment and my assessment of the evidence. Would a conviction at trial be the probable outcome?
And I just want to make sure the record is complete in that, because I think it's extremely important. You did not reach an idea that he had committed no wrong. You reached a conclusion that you would not prevail at trial and therefore did not take it forward. Is that correct?
Correct, Congressman.
Okay. So, and talking to some law folk, he's right. He's right. He's going to present you with the evidence. But, I mean, there's other motives and reasons why he didn't go forward with it. But he knew a jury of Joe Biden's peers wasn't going to convict Joe Biden. Why do all the legwork? Why go through the whole process if you know it ain't going to amount to nothing? But let him continue.
So this lengthy, expensive, and independent investigation resulted in a complete exoneration of President Joe Biden. For every document you discussed in your report, you found in.
Here we go with the exoneration. But we got to go through this because I wanted y'all to see it, though, for those who didn't see it.
Insufficient evidence that the president violated any laws about possession or retention of classified materials. The primary law that you analyzed for potential prosecution was part of the Espionage Act, 18 U.S.C. 793E, which criminalizes willful retention or disclosure of national defense information. Is that correct?
Congresswoman, that is one statute that we analyzed. I need to go back and make sure that I take note of the word that you used, exoneration. That is not a word that
I'm
appears
going
in
to
the report,
continue
and
with
that's
my
not part of my
questions.
task as a
I'm going to continue
prosecutor.
with my question.
If this witch ain't one of the most unprofessional, but I'm glad the American people get to see how nasty they are.
Yes, I
Judgment
know
that I
that the
received,
term-
that I ultimately reached
I
related
know
to
that the
whether
term-
sufficient evidence existed such that the likely
You didn't,
outcome
you
would be
exonerated
a
him.
conviction.
I know
I
that
did
the
not
term-
So she's telling him, the one that did the report, She's telling him, no, you don't know what you're talking about with the report you did. I'm going to tell you about your own report.
Willful
word does not appear in
retention
the
has a,
report, Congresswoman.
Mr. Hurd, it's my time. Thank you.
Oh, it's about to be your time. It's about to be your time. You on it. You on the list. You on the list. Dave, it's crazy. Talk to me.
They want to tell him what his job is. They want to tell him how to do his job. They want to take advantage of a word and twist it to mean something he didn't do, or exonerate him, claim things that he didn't do. There's no defense to that. I mean, I would think that even if a full Democrat jury and a Democrat judge, they would still have to look at this and go, the man took things as a senator. The man took things as a vice president, or the man had things as a vice president. We don't know who had access to them, but the bottom line is that he took as a senator, he kept as a vice president, he became the president, and he kept stuff. And maybe in his own feeble mind, hearing how Donald Trump was being put under the microscope for violations of the Presidential Records Act, Joe Biden got scared, or his people got scared, and they turned all this stuff back in to the Justice Department. And to me, I don't care. We gotta,
but wouldn't you say they have to drop this case on Trump now, just to make it look good, just to give it the appearance?
They have to drop the case on Trump and classified documents because Trump was president and Trump had the Presidential Records Act that allowed him to do whatever he did. And as I said with you the other day, if the Democrats are upset with what Trump did as president using the Presidential Records Act, then maybe it's time to fine tune and clean up the Presidential Records Act that doesn't allow a president to do this. And I don't stand by that statement that I just made, because when you're president, you're allowed to, the way the rules are now, declassify whatever you want and take it with you. And it becomes part of your archives as being president of the United States. And you maintain this stuff. And even with Biden, even if it was okay for Biden to take it, it wasn't okay to keep stuff in the glove box of the Corvette. It wasn't okay for Biden to keep stuff wherever he kept it. It wasn't okay for him to have the stuff. And we can argue this until we're blue in the face, because my question that I want to throw to you is, and I'm only going to use him as an example, Jim Jordan becomes the Attorney General, the head of the Justice Department. He rebuilds a new Justice Department for President Trump. And you know as well as I do that regardless of what the weaponized Justice Department under Merrick Garland did to prevent Joe Biden from getting any kind of discipline, whether it's a slap on the wrist and an ankle bracelet, and he goes home, or it's jail time, or this and that, or it's worse, they're going to go after it. You know they're going to go after him. You know they're going to go after him. It's their job. It's not even Trump's job to go after them if he becomes president. It's the job of the incoming Department of Justice to say, hey, the previous administration did a lot of illegal stuff. And if you want to go by, you can't go after a president until he's no longer president. Joe Biden is no longer president, and the Democrats should expect that he's going to get crucified. And as I also said the other day, I don't think they want him on the stand to risk that in a moment of clear brain working, he says, well, I didn't do this. Barack Obama did this. Name another, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And one of these days, I hope Kareem Abdul-Jabbar actually starts going after people who say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when they're talking about Kareem, the press secretary. Because I just think it's rude. I mean, I make up names for people all the time. I say marinated in garlic when I'm talking about Merrick Garland because I don't want Facebook to come after me. But, you know, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was probably one of the greatest basketball players of all time and does not need to have his name associated with one of the worst press secretaries of all time. But, you know, my point is that Biden is going to get on the stand, and in a moment of sanity, his brain is going to remember things that happened 40 years ago, because that's generally what happens with dementia. And I can tell you because I have it. You don't remember things that happened 15, 20 minutes ago. You remember things that happened 40 years ago, right down to the detail. And he's going to say, Barack Obama told me to do this. This one told me to do this. This one told me to do this. And I did it.
Well, we will see. But on the next note, looks like our man got some good news. I don't care. I'm going to let these people go ahead and spin it like they want to spin it, and then I'll talk about it. But either way you slice it and dice it, it's good news.
Georgia.
Good.
2020 election interference case there. The judge has just dismissed some of the charges. 6 of the charges will be withdrawn, including 3 against former President Donald Trump. Many of the other charges have been left intact. So CBS News legal contributor and Loyola Law School professor Jessica Levinson's going to join us now to explain. All right, so what are we talking about here? What's been withdrawn and what does it mean?
It means that the prosecutor can still go back, can still go to the grand jury and say, we need more specificity. So the bottom line for people watching is it doesn't mean that these particular claims go away. It means that there could be a delay. I believe that the judge gave the prosecution 6 months to go back and plead with the required specificity for these particular claims, but it doesn't take 6 months. And so the prosecution, and again, the big question is, who will the prosecutor be? But the prosecution can act more quickly.
Well,
William, I have to apologize. I got a phone call that I got to take.
Okay. Thank you for joining. I appreciate the time that you spent in.
Yeah.
Dave, Bob, and Boogie with the Bull people.
Thank you.
But as you can see, it's crazy. You know, Fannie deserves all the credit for this, though. She deserves all the credit for this because she's the one that exposed all the lies in the first place. I haven't really been covering hood chick Fannie Willis because it's a waste of my time. You know, covering Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade and that right there, that is like watching an episode of the Next 48. If you ever sit back and you watch the Next 48, the way these prosecutors are just dismantling these little kids, it's like what they do to them kids when they get them back in the interrogation room. Because when you standing on lies, everything that come out your mouth, 1, don't make sense. And then 2, when you get it to try to make a little sense, you start connecting yourself to the situation. They draw you in. They start. So first you start out, I was never in the vicinity. And then they say, well, we got this evidence that says you was. And then all of a sudden, oh, yeah, I was around the corner, you see. But, oh, now you was in the. And that's what they doing to these people. They just baiting them in. And the charges are just going away bit by bit. They say, oh, somebody else can pick up the charges. First of all, if the judge thought anything was relevant, he wouldn't have thrown him out in the first place. So you must be going to get another judge that's going to make a different decision. Oh, my goodness. The judge is still going to come back with the same decision. I don't care what different argument you come back with. The judge has spoken. These people are off their rocker. But moving right along, Like, share, subscribe, ring that bell so you can get these instant notifications. So, I don't know about you guys, people, patriots, whoever you consider yourself to be, but oh no, I'm not flying. I am not flying at the moment anymore. And after I show this to you guys, one, I'm not flying, and two, if you just so happen to work for somebody that just has a lot of money and you want to be a whistleblower, I would start second guessing that. After this story, we'll talk about it.
For its part, the FAA listened, and it did find at least some of those concerns were valid. But Boeing allegedly didn't listen. Barnett claimed that his lifelong employer not only didn't listen to him, it punished him. And so he devoted his retirement to an explosive lawsuit that now technically is moot because he's dead. Last week, Barnett was in Charleston, South Carolina for depositions in the case, but he missed an appointment on Saturday and was found dead inside his pickup truck at the Holiday Inn.
Now, I don't know if it's just me, but here you got my man in the process of a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, and he blowing the whistle on a corporation. And this is what they say happened.
The authorities say they found a silver handgun in his lap, finger on the trigger. There was also a note in the passenger seat, but they're not saying what was in that note. Not yet, anyway. His attorneys say that none of this makes any sense. They say there was no indication that he was in any danger of taking his own life. And
you think he was about to get paid, and he was about to be famous? He was about to be the whistleblower for Boeing. And Kawinky Dinky, they say he committed suicide. Go ahead and finish, Ashley.
that they want a full investigation. For its part, Boeing simply says, "We are saddened by Mr. Barnett's passing, and our thoughts are with his family and friends." My thoughts can be summed up in one word: forensics. Did he kill himself, or did someone kill him and make it look like he took his own life?
Boom. How simple can it be? But can we trust a forensic report? Boeing's a big company. Deep pockets. A lot of political backing.
Because forensics will tell you that story from beyond the grave. And that's why Joseph Scott Morgan is here. He's a certified death investigator, a forensic analyst, and a distinguished scholar of the stuff at Jacksonville State University. Okay, so Joe, if you shoot yourself in the head, your hand and the gunshot residue and the blood spatter and the trajectory, all that will tell the story, won't it?
Yes, it will. And understand this, the people that investigate suicides, this primarily falls to the coroner, the medical examiner. This is not necessarily a crime. So I find it interesting that the coroner has already stated that this is a self-inflicted gunshot. Unless the police can come up with more evidence that this was in fact something that was done at another's hand, and that's how we defined homicide, death at the hands of another, then they're probably going to go with the conclusions of the coroner. Right now, the police are waiting on that final conclusion.
So there's a letter, they said, that was found in the seat beside him, and they're not releasing any details of that, which I also find unusual, because wouldn't you want to quell any of this internet frenzy by saying the letter was very clear? Help me understand, as a death investigator, is it frequent that there's a letter written under duress, a suicide letter written under duress, and can you tell?
Well, let's back up just a second. First off, suicide notes typically are atypical. I think people are surprised by that. You generally do not find a suicide note. When people decide to take their life, they do it in a second most of the time. We in the medical legal community investigate probably at a rate of 2 to 3 suicides for every homicide. Suicides outpace homicides by that factor in this country. So we have a lot of experience at this. But one of the things they're going to be doing, if this was a handwritten note, is that they're going to have exemplars. And this is typical.
Okay, so basically, he's giving you a breakdown of the process that they're going to go through, basically just to see if it's on the up and up and if he actually and factually committed suicide. My personal opinion, if you've gone through the extent of all the shit that you've gone through to expose a corporation that you work for, that you are in the process of having a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against, why? Why would you then decide to commit suicide? Obviously, you was all in. You went through the lawsuit. You blew the whistle on them, which means you didn't give a damn. You were ready. You wasn't ready for what happened to you. I'm hoping we do. May he rest in peace and the prayers go out to his family. But damn, coincidence? How come everything bad that happens to people that try to do good happens to be a coincidence? Somebody please tell me, how come we can't just use our brain and say, no, nope, if it walked like a duck and it quacked like a duck and it smelled like a duck, well, I don't know what a duck smelled like, but damn it, it's a duck. Hey, I got my coffee mugs in. These are the big coffee mugs too. They're only $10 and I will ship it for free. Well, depending on where you are, because they're not that heavy. Let me know if you want one. And you can find them in the Patriots Lab merch page, along with hats and shirts. Go to the page. You'll see it if you're on Facebook. But yeah, they just trying to dumb us down. They just trying to dumb us down. We're not supposed to see the shit we see. We're not supposed to be upset at the shit we see. How? Listen. How on one hand can Joe Biden, PAPAW, we call him here in the lab, how can he on one hand be incompetent to stand trial? No. He's either incompetent or he's either incompetent and he can't be president, or he's got to be charged for treason. Why are we stuck in the middle? Why do we continue to stay stuck in the middle as Americans? Why can't we just simply say, listen, y'all already told us. Y'all see the title of the stage has been set. Y'all already told us. So which one is it? Is PAPAW incompetent to stand trial, which means he cannot be president? Or let's charge PAPAW with treason for willfully retaining and divulging classified information, documents, whatever you want to call it. Which one is it? But as long as they can keep American people stuck in the middle, I guess that's all they care about. As long as they can do it to us. And we allow them to do it to us. We let them do it to us. So now our focus is on something new. Now, y'all already know what's going on with TikTok, right? Me personally, I don't use TikTok. I don't do TikTok. But wow. And I'm going to do a show about that. Yeah, probably tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If not, yeah, probably, maybe. But people are losing their damn mind because They're trying to get rid of TikTok. Never mind the fact that China can have all your information about everything that you have. Forget that fact. This is what got me troubled. This is what has me troubled. There are people literally saying that their lives depend on TikTok. Their lives depend on TikTok. Listen, TikTok is just an app, a platform. Do you know how many platforms I've been Listen, people, if all of a sudden your life is dictated by an app, if your happiness is dictated by an app, it's like sneakers. If you're going to die because you can't wear a certain pair of shoes, if you rather walk the street barefoot because a certain shoe company happens to go out of business, people are losing all type of rationality. I hope that's the right word, but they're losing all type of perspective. So not forget that TikTok belongs to China, but the simple fact that they cannot live without it. Wow. I guess China got Americans right where they want them. We can't live without Chinese food. I mean, we can't live without the knockoffs that they get out. Now, obviously, certain people can't live without TikTok. Knowing if TikTok go away, they're going to go somewhere else. So why the mass hysteria? I don't know what's worse, the people that had the meltdowns during Hillary Clinton's defeat, or the people that they're interviewing out here, because TikTok might go. It's simple. If TikTok goes away, just find another platform. As simple as that. But how they've warped the mind. How they have warped the mind, infiltrated the mind of Americans. Wow. But I appreciate everybody for tuning in for Morning Coffee today. Appreciate Dave Bobbin for joining me for a little bit. But y'all remember, in the meantime, in between time, actually, I will be possibly heading to a car show. They got a nice car show going on right now, so I'm going to go wipe my girl down. I'll be tuning back in. So y'all make sure y'all get and go live. And it's a beautiful day. I'm going to put the top down. Come enjoy the ride. Probably be in about 20, 25 minutes. Until then, deuces. I'm out. And then, oh yeah, I'm going.